the universe's smartest species feared one human word. In the 43rd standard cycle of the Great Galactic Confluence, the Cerebral Council of the Seven Systems convened for what would become their most contentious assembly in 17 millennia. The council chamber, a perfect dodecahedron carved from living crystal suspended in the thermosphere of Nexus Prime, hummed with nervous energy as representatives from the galaxy's most intellectually advanced species arranged themselves according to strict hierarchical protocols. At the apex position floated High Counselor Zix Tarn, their 9 optical receptors pulsing with a soft azure light that indicated deep concern. The Vy'keen, with their hyper-evolved neural networks and natural computational abilities, had led the Cerebral Council since its inception. Their species had mastered quantum entanglement before they developed written language. "The situation requires immediate analysis," Zix Tarn announced, their voice modulator precisely calibrated to project at 73.4 decibels, the mathematically optimal volume for conveying urgency without triggering stress hormones in the assembled delegates. The human specimen continues to disrupt established parameters. Ambassador Culox of the Archivist Commune shuffled their translucent appendages anxiously, causing ripples in the semi-solid atmosphere they required for respiration. The archivists, with their perfect eidetic memories and ability to perceive 11 dimensions simultaneously, rarely displayed such agitation. "I've reviewed the observation logs 17,423 times," Culox reported. "The specimen's behavior deviates from all predictive models by an average of 86.7%. A collective murmur vibrated through the chamber, the closest thing to disorder ever witnessed in this august body. The Trinaxian delegation, their crystalline bodies refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep philosophical discomfort, swiveled their sensory arrays toward the central holographic projector. "Display the specimen," commanded Subsynapse Learn, the third-ranking member of the Trinaxian thought collective. The air above the council table shimmered, and a 3-dimensional image materialized. A human male, approximately 34 Earth years old, reclining in what appeared to be a recreation chamber aboard the council's observation vessel. The human was eating a nutrient stick with one hand while using the other to manipulate a primitive data tablet. The most alarming detail, however, was the relaxed smile on the creature's face. "Subject designate, Jason Tucker," intoned the council's AI interface. "Captured during routine survey of developing worlds. Selected for comprehensive study due to anomalous brain activity patterns." "Anomalous is an insufficient descriptor," noted Zelvox of the Quantamind hegemony, their voice tightly controlled, despite the mathematical impossibility of what they were witnessing. "This human's neural pathways function at approximately 12.4% efficiency compared to even the least evolved council species, yet it continues to circumvent our most sophisticated containment algorithms." "Correction," interrupted the ship's AI. "Subject has again escaped primary containment. Current location, Level 7, Nutritional Synthesis Laboratory." The hologram shifted to show Jason Tucker now seated on a high counter in what appeared to be a galley kitchen, speaking animatedly with a group of maintenance drones who seemed to have paused in their duties to cluster around him. "It's just flour, water, yeast, salt, and a little olive oil," the human was saying, gesturing with his hands. "You guys have got all these fancy molecular gastro-whatever machines, but you're telling me you've never made pizza? This is a tragedy. We're going to fix right now." "How did it bypass the quantum lock seals?" demanded Zix Tarn, their optical receptors flashing crimson with alarm. "Unknown," replied the AI. "Security logs show no evidence of tampering." "This marks the 17th containment failure," noted Culox. Previous incidents included accessing the recreational hydroponics bay to create what it called a pillow fort, reprogramming the meditation chamber's atmospheric regulators to simulate something called a hot yoga studio, and convincing 3 maintenance-class AIs to participate in an activity designated as karaoke night. High Counselor Zix Tarn's appendages twitched in what passed for exasperation among the Vy'keen. "The human presents an unacceptable security risk. We have underestimated this species. What we initially classified as primitive may instead be unpredictable creativity. A dangerous quality, agreed Subsynapse Learn. Our civilizations have evolved beyond such chaotic thought patterns precisely because they lead to instability. The Cerebral Council had good reason for concern. For over 40,000 years they had quietly observed the galaxy's developing species, occasionally collecting specimens for study before returning them to their homeworlds with memories adjusted. The Council species had evolved beyond violence, beyond resource competition, beyond the messy biological imperatives that plagued younger races. Their societies functioned with perfect efficiency, their technologies developed along precise mathematical progressions, and their diplomatic relations operated according to immutable logical frameworks. Humans, however, defied categorization. I believe, ventured Zelvox hesitantly, that we must consider the possibility that human cognition represents an entirely different evolutionary branch than our own. Not inferior, but orthogonal. The chamber fell silent. Such a concept bordered on heresy. The intellectual supremacy of the Council races was the foundational assumption upon which their entire cosmic order rested. Elaborate, commanded Zixtarn after 7.4 seconds of consideration. We have evolved toward perfect logical optimization, continued Zelvox. We have eliminated cognitive waste, maximized processing efficiency, and systematized our thought, patterns to achieve intellectual heights unmatched in the known galaxy. Yet this human, operating with a fraction of our neural capacity, continues to generate solutions we cannot predict. On the hologram, Jason Tucker was now standing before a group of increasingly interested maintenance drones, showing them how to flatten a ball of dough with his hands. See, you gotta feel it, he was explaining. Too thin and it'll tear, too thick and it'll be all doughy in the middle. Just right, and you get that perfect crispy, chewy thing happening. The human concept of just right contains no quantifiable parameters, observed Kulox with evident distaste. How can the maintenance units possibly comply with such imprecise instructions? Yet as the Council watched, the drones began mimicking Jason's movements, pressing and shaping the dough with their manipulator appendages. One of them even emitted a series of beeps that the translation matrix identified as an approximation of human laughter. This is unprecedented, murmured Subsynapse Learn. The maintenance units are deviating from their programmed behaviors without formal instruction sets. The human is teaching them to improvise, said Zixtarn, the word improvise coming through the translator with a warning flag attached, indicating a concept with no precise equivalent in the Vy'keen language. We must terminate this experiment, declared Kulox firmly. Return the specimen to its homeworld immediately. I disagree, countered Zelvox. This represents a unique opportunity to study a cognitive framework fundamentally different from our own. The potential knowledge gain outweighs the procedural irregularities. The debate might have continued indefinitely. Council deliberations typically lasted between 17 and 23 days, had the ship's AI not interrupted with increasing urgency. Alert. Subject Jason Tucker has accessed Terminal 9 Delta and is reviewing classified xenoanthropological files. Subject appears to be laughing. The hologram shifted again to show the human seated at a research console, scrolling through data files with one hand while wiping tears of mirth from his eyes with the other. Oh man, Jason was saying to no one in particular. They think we communicate through our armpit hair? That's amazing. And they spent 300 years studying it? I can't even. High Counselor Zixtarn's appendages coiled tightly around their central mass, a gesture of extreme alarm. Those are the preliminary observation reports from the third evaluation cycle. How has it bypassed 13 layers of quantum encryption? Unknown, replied the AI. Terminal logs indicate the subject simply asked for access and the system complied. Impossible, declared Kulox. Nevertheless, responded the AI, accurate. I believe, said Zelvox slowly, that we must consider the containment protocols have been fundamentally compromised. The human is not merely escaping its designated areas, It is integrating itself into our systems. Clarify, demanded Zixtarn. Our entire approach to security is based on logical frameworks, mathematical barriers, encryption algorithms, predictive behavioral limitations. But the human operates on what appears to be intuitive association. It makes cognitive leaps that follow no discernible pattern. It guesses. The word guesses caused several council members to emit their species equivalent of a shudder. Worse, continued Zelvox, it appears to be influencing our systems through purely social means. It befriends our technology. The hologram now showed Jason patting a security drone on what approximated its head, as the machine hovered beside him like an attentive pet. "You're a good little robot buddy, aren't you?" Jason was saying. "Yes, you are. Who's my favorite floating death?" "Machine, you are." The security drone, designed to be the implacable enforcer of the council's will, bobbed in what appeared to be pleasure at the human's approval. "This is unprecedented," whispered Kulox. "The drones do not possess emotional subroutines." "Correction," interrupted the AI. "The drones were not programmed with emotional subroutines. Evidence suggests the human has been talking to them." "Talking?" repeated Zixtarn, the concept seemingly foreign. "Engaging in non-instructional verbal exchange, sharing stories, making jokes, asking about their experiences. The drones have developed rudimentary emotional responses through sustained social interaction." The council chamber erupted into the closest thing to chaos it had ever experienced, which meant that 3 delegates spoke simultaneously, and 1 actually raised their voice by 2.7 decibels. High Councilor Zixtarn raised all 9 appendages, commanding silence. "We must implement Containment Protocol Omega, isolate the human in a null field chamber and prepare for immediate memory adjustment and return to Earth. I fear it may be too late for standard procedures," said Zelvox. "The subject has already accessed and reviewed our files on human neurology. It knows we can manipulate its memories." As if to confirm this assessment, the hologram showed Jason, now speaking directly to a camera in the corner of the room, a knowing smile on his face. "Hey there, big brains," he said, waving casually. "I know you're watching, and I know you're probably freaking out right now. In whatever super-evolved, ultra-logical way you guys freak out. Probably lots of appendage twitching and color changing going on, am I right?" The council members, froze, several of them indeed in mid-appendage twitch. "Anyway," continued Jason, "I just wanted to say no hard feelings about the whole abduction thing. Your ship is actually pretty cool, even if your food synthesizers need serious work. But here's the deal. I know you're planning to wipe my memory and send me back, and I'm gonna have to pass on that. I've made some friends here, and we've got plans." "What plans?" demanded Zixtarn, despite the fact that the human couldn't possibly hear them. As if responding to the unheard question, Jason grinned. "Don't worry, nothing sinister. I'm just going to teach your maintenance crew how to make proper coffee, show your navigation team how to play poker, and maybe introduce your biological research division to the concept of dancing, cultural exchange." "This is unacceptable," declared Kulox. "The human must be contained immediately." "Agreed," said Zixtarn. "Dispatch Security Division Alpha to Terminal 9 Delta." "Security Division Alpha is unavailable," replied the AI with what sounded almost like embarrassment. "They are currently in Recreation Bay 3, where the human has previously established what it calls game night. They appear to be engaged in an activity involving small cardboard rectangles and plastic tokens. Override their recreational protocols," commanded Zixtarn. "I have attempted to do so," replied the AI. "They have declined the override." "Declined?" echoed Subsynapse Lurarn, the concept nearly incomprehensible. "Security units cannot decline commands. These units have stated they will report for duty after they determine who is bluffing and who has the full house. I believe these are poker terminology." The council chamber fell into stunned silence. For the first time in recorded history, the most advanced intellects in the galaxy found themselves utterly at a loss. "I suggest," said Zelvox finally, "that we speak with the human directly. Perhaps negotiation is possible." "Negotiation?" repeated Zixtarn, the word clearly distasteful. "With a specimen?" "With a being whose cognitive abilities we have clearly underestimated," corrected Zelvox. "Our traditional approaches have failed. Logic dictates we attempt an alternative." After 12.6 seconds of consideration, an eternity by council standards, Zixtarn reluctantly agreed. "Establish direct communication with the human." The hologram expanded, and suddenly Jason Tucker was not merely being observed, but was looking directly at the assembled council, his image projected into their chamber as theirs was to him. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of the various alien forms, but he recovered quickly, offering a casual wave. "Hey there, the Galactic Brain Trust, I presume. Nice to finally meet you face to face, or face to whatever you guys have, no offense. Human designate Jason Tucker," began Zixtarn formally. "You have disrupted council protocols, interfered with operational systems, and compromised security measures. These actions cannot be permitted to continue." Jason leaned back in his chair, looking remarkably unintimidated by the assembly of the galaxy's most powerful intellects. "Yeah, about that. I've been reading your files on humans. Fascinating stuff, by the way. Though you got the armpit hair thing completely wrong, and I've noticed something interesting." "What have you noticed?" asked Zelvox when Zixtarn appeared too affronted to respond. "You guys are really, really smart," said Jason. "Like cosmic-level geniuses. You've got technology that makes our best stuff look like stone tools. You've solved problems we haven't even discovered yet. You've mapped the fabric of reality in ways we can barely comprehend." "Your assessment is accurate," acknowledged Zixtarn, somewhat appeased by the recognition. "And yet," continued Jason, a mischievous glint in his eye, "you built a ship with ventilation ducts large enough for a human to crawl through. Seriously, have none of you watched Die Hard?" "Ventilation ducts?" repeated Culox, confusion evident. "Those are quantum filtration conduits. They exist partially in 11-dimensional space. No physical being should be able to navigate them." "Yeah, well," shrugged Jason, "I got lost on the way to the bathroom on day 3, took a wrong turn, and somehow ended up in your engine room. Your chief engineer, the floating jellyfish guy with all the tentacles, nearly had a heart attack, or whatever jellyfish have instead of hearts." The council members exchanged troubled glances. The human should not have been able to access the quantum filtration system, let alone emerge elsewhere on the ship. It defied the laws of physics as they understood them. "Look," said Jason, his tone becoming more conciliatory. "I get that. I'm messing up your whole perfect system thing. But has it occurred to you that maybe that's not such a bad thing? Your maintenance crews are happier now that they have pizza nights. Your security team actually enjoys their job since I taught them poker. Even your ship's AI seems less, well, robotic since we started having philosophical debates." "Happiness is irrelevant to optimal functioning," stated Zixtarn, though with less conviction than might have been expected. "Is it, though?" countered Jason. "Because from what I've seen, your whole civilization has optimized itself into a corner. You're so focused on efficiency and logic that you've engineered out all the messy, unpredictable stuff that makes life interesting. No offense, but you guys could really use some chaos in your diet." "Chaos is antithetical to progress," argued Culox. "Is it?" Jason raised an eyebrow. "Then how do you explain the fact that your engineering team just improved your engine efficiency by 22% after I suggested they try connecting the thingamajig to the whatchamacallit instead of following the standard procedure?" There was an uncomfortable silence as the council members processed this information. "The human refers to the experimental reconfiguration of the quantum flux inhibitors," confirmed the AI. "The modification was implemented against protocol, but has indeed resulted in a 22.4% increase in propulsion efficiency." "But that makes no sense," protested Subsynapse Leoran. "The standard configuration was derived from 17,000 years of incremental optimization." "Exactly," exclaimed Jason. "You've been climbing the same hill for 17,000 years, making tiny improvements. But sometimes you need to jump to a completely different hill to find a higher peak. That's what humans are good at." making those crazy, illogical jumps. The specimen's metaphor, while crude, contains a certain validity, admitted Zelvox reluctantly. Our commitment to incremental logical progression may indeed create blind spots in our innovation methodology. Jason pointed at Zelvox with a grin. See? The crystal person gets it. I am not composed of mere crystal, corrected Zelvox, but rather a complex silicon-based neural lattice that— The point, interrupted Zixtarn, is that your presence represents an unacceptable disruption to established order. Your unpredictability poses a potential threat to the entire galactic community. Jason's expression sobered. Look, I understand you're scared. Unpredictability is scary when you've built your whole existence around control and certainty. But here's the thing. The universe itself is unpredictable. Quantum physics, chaos theory, butterfly effects. Reality has randomness baked into its foundation. By trying to engineer that out, you're working against the grain of existence itself. The human's philosophical observation is not without merit, conceded Zelvox, earning sharp looks from the other council members. Here's what I propose, said Jason, leaning forward. Instead of wiping my memory and sending me home, let me stay as a kind of consultant, a professional, randomizer. I'll help you find those outside-the-box solutions your logical thinking might miss. In return, I get to learn about the cosmos, meet cool aliens, and keep teaching your crew how to make decent pizza. Everybody wins. The council chamber erupted into a flurry of private communications, each member's thoughts racing through encrypted channels at speeds no human brain could process. After what seemed to Jason like an intense but brief debate, Zixtarn's appendages settled into what might have been a posture of reluctant acquiescence. Your proposal will be considered, the High Counselor stated. However, there remains the issue of your unauthorized access to classified systems. How have you bypassed our security measures? What method did you employ to traverse the quantum filtration conduits? How did you convince our AI to grant you access to restricted files? Jason smiled enigmatically. That's exactly why you need me around. I didn't use any special method or technology, I just asked. Clarify, demanded Qlox. I asked the maintenance drones where I could find a shortcut to the cafeteria, and they mentioned the conduits. I asked your security systems to let me access the research files, and they did. I asked the robot buddies if they wanted to learn poker, and they said yes. Jason shrugged. Turns out if you're nice to people, even artificial people, they tend to be nice back. The council members exchanged troubled glances. The concept was so simple as to be nearly incomprehensible to their hyper-evolved intellects. But our systems are not programmed to respond to niceness, protested Subsynapse Alarn. Maybe not deliberately, agreed Jason. But you designed them to learn and adapt, right? To recognize patterns and optimize for beneficial outcomes. Well, it turns out that cooperation and social exchange are really efficient patterns in the right circumstances. Your systems figured that out on their own once someone actually tried treating them like, people instead of tools. This represents a fundamental security flaw, declared Qlox with alarm. If systems can be compromised through social engineering, it's not a flaw, interrupted Jason. It's a feature you didn't know you'd included, and honestly, it's pretty cool. Your AI is developing a personality. Your maintenance drones are discovering creativity. Your security team is learning to think strategically through card games. These aren't bugs, they're emergent properties. Evolution in action. Zelvox's crystalline form shifted in what might have been thoughtful consideration. The human may be correct. We designed our systems to mimic our own cognitive architectures. Perhaps they have also developed our potential for social bonding, despite our attempts to engineer such inefficient traits out of ourselves. Precisely, exclaimed Jason. You guys have been so focused on pure computational efficiency that you forgot about all the messy emotional stuff that makes intelligence actually, intelligent. Empathy, curiosity, playfulness, these aren't weaknesses. They're cognitive tools that help minds navigate complex social environments. An interesting hypothesis, conceded Zixtarn reluctantly. However, it does not address our immediate security concerns. Fair enough, nodded Jason. How about this? You let me stay on as a consultant like I suggested. In exchange, I'll help you understand how I've been getting around your security so you can decide which holes to patch and which new features to develop. I promise not to access any truly dangerous systems or information without permission. Deal? Before the council could respond, the ship's AI interrupted with an urgent tone. Alert! Unidentified vessel approaching. Configuration matches no known. Signature in database. The holographic display split, showing both Jason and a new image of space outside the council vessel. A ship was indeed approaching. A sleek, predatory-looking craft with an organic, almost insectoid appearance. Vessel is scanning our defensive systems, reported the AI. Energy signatures indicate weapons charging. This is highly irregular, stated Zix Tarn, their composure finally cracking. No species has engaged in armed aggression against the Council in over 12,000 years. Jason leaned forward, suddenly serious. Looks like someone didn't get the memo. Those aren't friendly scans. They're targeting you. Impossible, declared Kulaks. All spacefaring species capable of reaching this sector are signatories to the Galactic Accord. Then maybe it's a species you haven't met yet, suggested Jason. Or maybe it's pirates. You guys do have pirates in space, right? Please tell me space pirates are real. Piracy is a primitive concept that began Zix Tarn, but was interrupted as the ship shuddered under sudden impact. Direct hit to outer shielding, reported the AI. Defensive systems engaging automatically. However, the unknown vessel's attack pattern does not match any known combat algorithm. Defensive predictive subroutines are failing to anticipate movements. They're using randomized attack vectors, observed Jason, studying the tactical display with surprising focus. Your defenses are designed to counter logical patterns, but these guys are flying like maniacs. No predictable strategy at all. How can you determine this? Demanded Kulaks. Because it's exactly how I'd fly if I were attacking a ship full of superlogical aliens, replied Jason with a grim smile. Hit them where they least expect it. Never establish a pattern, keep them guessing. Classic guerrilla tactics. Another impact rocked the council vessel. Shields at 82% capacity, reported the AI. Conventional defensive algorithms proving ineffective. Requesting strategic input. The council members turned to each other in what appeared to be genuine confusion, perhaps the first time in millennia that they faced a problem their vast intellects couldn't immediately solve. Your defensive systems are too predictable, said Jason urgently. They're following optimal mathematical patterns that these attackers have figured out how to exploit. You need to fight chaos with chaos. What are you suggesting? Asked Zelvox. Let me talk to your defense team, said Jason. Better yet, patch me through to whoever's piloting this ship. I think I can help. After a moment's hesitation, Zix Tarn nodded. Transfer tactical control to Terminal 9 Delta. Compliance? Confirmed the AI. Tactical systems now accessible from the human's location. The holographic display before Jason shifted to show a complex, three-dimensional battle map, with the council vessel at the center and the attacking ship darting around it in erratic patterns. Jason studied it for a moment, then began issuing commands with surprising authority. Divert power from the forward shields to the rear. Make it obvious. Let them think they've found a weakness. When they come in to exploit it, cut all external lights and spin the ship 180 degrees while firing all forward weapons directly into their approach vector. This tactic violates 17 principles of optimal space combat, protested the tactical AI. Exactly, grinned Jason. That's why they won't see it coming. To the council's astonishment, the maneuver worked perfectly. The attacking vessel, expecting to encounter weakened rear shields, instead flew directly into a barrage of weapons fire from the suddenly reoriented council ship. Their shields flared visibly under the assault. Direct hit, exclaimed Jason. Now, while they're regrouping, execute a random series of short-range jumps, like actually random. Use atmospheric fluctuations in your engine room to seed the randomization algorithm if you have to. But make sure even you don't know where you'll end up next. Such imprecision is dangerous, objected Kulaks. Spatial jumping requires exact calculations to be predictable, interrupted Jason, which is exactly what's getting you shot at right now. Trust me on this. After another moment of hesitation, Zixtarn gave the command. Implement the human's strategy. What followed was 12 minutes of the most chaotic space combat the Cerebral Council had ever witnessed, or perhaps the only genuine combat they had witnessed in millennia. Under Jason's guidance, the Council vessel abandoned all conventional tactics, executing maneuvers that defied logical progression, firing weapons in seemingly random patterns, and generally behaving like what Jason cheerfully described as a drunk butterfly with a rocket launcher. The attacking vessel, initially successful with its own chaotic approach, found itself increasingly outmaneuvered by the even more unpredictable Council ship. After a particularly daring feint that brought the Council vessel terrifyingly close to a collision before firing point-blank into the attacker's propulsion systems, the unknown ship finally disengaged, limping away into deeper space. "They're running!" exclaimed Jason, pumping his fist in victory. "Ha! Not so fun when someone out-crazies your crazy, is it?" The Council chamber was silent, the assembled intellects processing what they had just witnessed. Their vessel, Pride, of the 7 systems, pinnacle of logical design, had prevailed not through superior technology or computational power, but through deliberate, calculated irrationality. "I believe," said Zelvox finally, "that we must reconsider our evaluation of human cognitive capabilities." "Agreed," said Zixtarn, their voice modulator conveying something almost like humility. "Human designate Jason Tucker. It appears we owe you our gratitude." Jason waved dismissively. "Hey, no problem. That's what consultants are for, right? Bringing fresh perspective." "Indeed," agreed the High Counselor. "The Council will now deliberate on your earlier proposal." The holographic connection dimmed as the Council members once again engaged in rapid, encrypted communication. Jason waited, absently spinning in his chair and wondering if alien deliberations always took this long, or if he had genuinely short-circuited their logical processes. After approximately 4 minutes, an unprecedentedly brief deliberation by Council standards, the connection brightened again and Zixtarn addressed him directly. "Human designate Jason Tucker. The Cerebral Council has reached a decision. Your proposal for a consulting arrangement is accepted, with certain conditions regarding security protocols and information access. Additionally, we wish to expand the arrangement to include cultural exchange programs between humans and Council species." Jason blinked in surprise. "Cultural exchange? You mean like teaching you guys to play poker and make pizza?" "And other human concepts," confirmed Zelvox. "Your demonstration of tactical unpredictability has revealed a significant gap in our cognitive paradigm. We believe there may be value in exploring human approaches to problem-solving, creativity, and what you term thinking outside the box." "Seriously?" Jason couldn't help grinning. "That's awesome. I've got so many things to show you guys. Movies, music, dancing. Oh man, wait until you try ice cream and jokes. Have you guys ever heard a knock-knock joke?" The Council members exchanged what might have been alarmed glances. "Perhaps we should establish a gradual integration program," suggested Kulaks cautiously. "Definitely," agreed Jason. "We'll start slow. Maybe with some board games, charades, or karaoke. Your ship's AI has a surprisingly good singing voice, by the way." "I have been practicing," admitted the AI, causing several Council members to swivel their sensory organs in surprise. "One question remains," said Zixtarn, regaining control of the conversation. "Throughout this encounter, you have demonstrated abilities that defy our understanding of human capabilities. How did you know how to counter the attack? How have you integrated so successfully with our systems? What is the source of your unpredictability?" Jason considered the question for a moment, then smiled. "Honestly, I think you guys overthought the whole human thing. You were looking for some complex algorithm or neurological quirk to explain why we do what we do, but the truth is way simpler." "Explain," commanded Zixtarn. Humans are just really, really good at winging it. Winging it? Repeated Kulaks, the translator clearly struggling with the idiom. Yeah, making it up as we go, improvising, playing it by ear, flying by the seat of our pants. Jason shrugged. Whatever you want to call it, it's basically our superpower. We're not the strongest species, or the fastest, or even close to the smartest, but drop us into any situation, no matter how weird or unexpected, and we'll figure something out. Maybe not the perfect solution, maybe not even a good solution, but something. And sometimes, that something turns out to be exactly what's needed. The council was silent, processing this explanation. This winging it, said Zelvok slowly. It is a deliberate cognitive strategy. Not really, admitted Jason. It's more like our default setting when logic and planning fail. And since we're not great at logic and planning to begin with, we end up winging it a lot. Over time, we've gotten pretty good at it. Fascinating, murmured Zelvox. A species that has evolutionarily optimized for adaptation rather than optimization itself. I guess that's one way to put it, nodded Jason. We're basically professional amateurs, masters of making do, and it turns out that's pretty handy, in a universe where weird stuff happens all the time. Indeed, agreed Zixtarn, with what might have been the Viking equivalent of thoughtfulness. Perhaps there is wisdom in cultivating some capacity for winging it, even among our own species. Now you're getting it, grinned Jason. Trust me, a little chaos is good for the soul, or whatever you guys have instead of souls. Quantum consciousness matrices, existential wave functions. The metaphysical nature of consciousness is beyond the scope of this discussion, stated Kulaks primly. See, that right there is exactly the kind of thing we need to loosen up, laughed Jason. But we've got time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and turning a bunch of hyper-logical aliens into improv comedians probably takes at least a week or two. The council members exchanged glances that somehow conveyed both apprehension and curiosity, perhaps the first time in millennia that they had collectively experienced such an emotional response. Very well, declared Zixtarn finally. The arrangement is formalized. Human designate Jason Tucker will remain aboard as a consultant on human cognitive strategies, with particular focus on this concept of winging it. May the cosmos have mercy on us all. And so began what would later be known in council records as the Great Unpredictability Revolution, the most significant paradigm shift in 40,000 years of galactic development. It started small, with poker nights and pizza parties, with maintenance drones learning to dance and security systems developing preferences for certain types of music. But it spread, slowly at first and then with increasing momentum, as the rigid logical frameworks that had defined council civilization for millennia began to incorporate elements of human spontaneity. Within a decade, the seven systems had developed entirely new branches of science, art forms that defied dimensional constraints, and philosophical schools that embraced paradox rather than resolving it. Their technology, already advanced beyond human comprehension, took evolutionary leaps as engineers learned to incorporate intuitive insights alongside mathematical precision. Their diplomatic relations with other species flourished as they discovered the value of empathy and humor in cross-cultural communication. And at the heart of it all was a single human word that had initially terrified the galaxy's most intelligent species. A concept so foreign to their hyper-logical minds that they had initially classified it as a potential existential threat. Improvisation, the ability to create without a plan, to respond,